Okay, welcome back everyone. We are now Unfolding the Garden, episode 4. Alright, so let me just kind of pull up this stuff. Let's bring up the last episode. What exactly was I working on? So let me find the... Well, I keep forgetting where I put the old execute. Oh, there we go. So let's just a brief catch up of what we were looking at last week. Hey, buonasera, buongiorno, Ruse Cogno Praetorian. Welcome everybody. So, oh man, we've done a lot of changes, but I'm gonna do a dev stream right after. So this is a recap of the last episode. So we kind of looked at, I think, from March 2017 to July 2017. So we were starting to, the build was starting to have kind of different experiments. Like we're starting to play around with colored blocks. Having the player change gravity instead of the world changing, starting to introduce these switches instead of buttons so that they were synced to colors. And sort of scanning some of this, we can see that, starting to introduce the line effect. Sort of when you put the box on a switch, it opens up. Here we also this was an early attempt at kind of there was this long passageway that you had to fall down and it would take 10 minutes, but I think this is interesting to me because the wool wrapping mechanic basically comes back and replaces this and does the thing I was going for in a much better way. We see that there's also been double gravity cubes. Those were introduced early on. We had a lot of kind of electricity field that would kill the player. I'll just find out where the last wasn't. Let me also just retweet the announcement about streaming from the Manifold Garden account. Hey, Nusan. Let's see here. So it looked like that was April 7th. Oh, you know what? Actually, this means that I did the, I'm just gonna make a quick change. It looks like I did it wrong. Not, no, I was not looking at the builds from, so that would be March. This is basically March 20. March 2013 to July 2013. All right, let us continue with where we left off at. There we go. I made a quick preview. Yeah, I made a quick preview. I didn't go that far. So let's go back to, let's see here. Yeah, there we go. So I believe this is the last build we checked out. This is from July 29th, 2013. This is pretty funny. It doesn't. Once you chose the level select menu, you can't go back. Now we'll take a quick look at this, jump around, and then move on to August. So, right at this point, I still had this very annoying, very obnoxious chapter titles. I've since gotten rid of them. Ah, yeah, okay, so here is, I think, the... Oh, you know what? This is actually still a later version, but this was before we did the... this was before we did any of the... this was before I started to use ProBuilder. So we checked this out. And I think this August version, let's take a look at this, August 6th. The last one we checked out, August 24th. Right, here we go. So this is after, just after I added ProBuilder. Yeah, and I think I talked about how, so you can see that a lot of the Z fighting went away. And one of the things that was important about this setup is that I kept the lines in because a lot of the a lot of the puzzles they would like use up the maximum amount of the height. So for example, when the player is like a height of two units, and when you reach up with a block, I think you can go up, and the highest you can go is about 4.5 maybe. All right, so that, yeah, this line, like where the base of the cube, that's 4 units high, but if you were standing right below, you can go 4.5. So a lot of puzzles I had you going all the way up to 4.5. Like you see that's at the highest you can go to, right? And eventually the reason why I was able to get rid of the grid was I realized that a lot of the puzzles I did not need you to have it all the way up. Like I simply needed you to place this blue block on top of something, but it didn't have to be precise. I'm still not sure if the movement here with the block is a good thing. The reason for that, it's very it's a really imprecise system, you know. And I think this is very much from Portal, and I'm not sure if making the game again I would still use this, although I don't see a way around it necessarily. And what I mean by imprecise, right, it's just this sort of like a lot of games when you're carrying an object, it doesn't have physics. A lot of times, like you'll carry a box and this is what it looks like. It's just sort of floating in front of the player. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the box having this kind of physics to it, because it's even more here than in Portal. Again, these early walls. We went over this last time. All right. Yeah, so for example, here was the other thing, right? Which is from the floor, you're able to pick up this yellow box and place it on top of this ledge. And what's going on there is because it's the radius of your reach is from where your head is. So what happens is if you're standing up here, it's like you gotta add the height of your body, which makes it longer. But that was very counterintuitive to a lot of people. I believe what we do now is actually when you're looking down, we extend your reach. I don't know, man. Like sometimes, like I feel like playing this system with the boxes, it does feel a little outdated. Alright, so again, this puzzle you needed to have. So right, this puzzle eventually got changed because you needed to place this exactly at 4 units. Otherwise, it wouldn't be high enough for you to reach from the other side. But this meant that players were constantly like having to readjust. So I think in the end, I lowered this whole thing down to 5 units. got rid of the grid, and then you could place the red block like anywhere from here to here. Like the important thing was you had to use the red block. But once you figure that out, you know, it could really be anywhere. Unidentified lighting source. Oh, this is cool. Oh yeah, this. There's also now like a lot of so we do have a grid for the boxes. They do align to a 0.25 grid. So yeah, this looks like pretty much just the thing that we had before. All right. So let's switch now to, let's skip ahead a few months. Let's look at, all right, we've got July, September. So that was August 24th. Let's see if anything changed in September. Yeah, or the unit on the grid is about 0.25. Oh, so this is one of the things I did early on was I did track the amount of time it took for you to finish a level. So I think this must have been the last time. So this took about a minute. This was sort of handy early on because you could tell when a level was problematic because they'd be like 50, 70, 70, 50, 30, and then it'd be like 200. And I'm wondering at what point I got rid of this perspective thing. Hub 2. Hub 3. Oh, huh. Yeah, okay, right. So it just kept like, you'd open up one hub and then you just go into another and there'd be some more puzzles to do. This does find itself. There's a variation of this puzzle in the current game, but the stairs are, well, they're much wider. Look at this one, I'm just constantly, it's because like, so a lot of first-person games will actually put they'll put like a collider here. So, you know, because what happens is a lot of player, when they're going upstairs, they'll try to cut corners, right? And this just makes it so that they're not constantly falling off. There's also no reason for the stairs to be this tall. So look at how slowly you fell. Okay, so yeah, see, we started adding this. I think I talked about this before, but it was not obvious enough. Notice how these cubes, when they're frozen, they don't show any arrows, so you still don't know which direction the green gravity is in. And I think this was, oh my god. But this was a picture that I used. I think you have one of some of the old relativity cards. I think this might have been one of the images. I also used to not have no clip, so the way I would take screenshots was like, I just have to keep doing this stuff, and I would just keep hitting K. And then I think Alan Hazelton came around and he saw me doing that, and he's like, why don't you add a mode where you can pause the game and move around and take screenshots? This puzzle. So I also got rid of a lot of these puzzles, so this, I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna talk about it. And this puzzle also had this, you know, I think in the earlier previous episodes I talked about how one of the problems I had with puzzles was players could figure out exactly what they had to do just from looking at it. And this was sort of it. Like, you can look at this one and kind of piece together what's needed. Now there are some parts of it that are good. You're like, okay, yeah, you need to put the green one, then you do the purple one, then you do the red one, and then finally the orange one, right? So, but this was one of the earlier puzzles that made the order important. Oh, right, so the order in which you place the cubes was important. I have since gotten rid of... So this was supposed to be like a test puzzle. And what I mean by that is there were a number of... Oh yeah, see, I had to do the... Yeah, you see the... I gotta do the purple one first, right? Because you need the green one to do the purple one. I just got rid of these puzzles. They just weren't that fun. It was more, in the end, it sort of felt more tedious. There was no kind of moment of discovery. It was just like, oh, I screwed something up. Let me redo it. You know, it wasn't sort of when you realized how to solve it, it wasn't this like exhilarating moment. Up. Actually, you see, I messed this up again. Watch, because really you have to get the red one up first. Yeah, I'm like going, like what I'm experiencing now is exactly what players were experiencing. I did like this one aspect, which was the way it involved. I think I also got rid of this, so you had to like place these two cubes and then pick up red, put it on green. And this type of movement, I think I got rid of. Yeah, there aren't really any things like this. Like, a lot of the movements now in the game are very big, sweeping movements, having you jump from one level to another, one platform to another, because that's just a lot more fun. Kind of these like small, imprecise movements, which is really tedious, and it was like if you fell off you have to redo this again. So I noticed a lot of people kind of rage quitting, like even just, you know, I designed this and just the way I was solving it now, I had to redo it 3-4 times, and it wasn't like particularly enlightening. It was more just, well, I did it wrong, so I have to redo it. So now it's like, okay, first, now we can't, but the interesting thing here now is that you can't walk on red. And also a lot of the feedback that I started to get around this time was like too many box puzzles. Hello, S. Renify. Right, so here, let's come around this. So this is, yeah. So this was a puzzle that I really liked for a long time, but then just decided it was too tedious, and there weren't. So a lot of the, like, my approach in designing puzzles, especially for the newer ones, are more about how can I ensure that there is always a moment of discovery for the player. Oh, part 2 is position. So I guess it's perspective and then position. Which makes sense, because I think in part 2 I started introducing the double gravity cubes. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, ha! So this is kind of cool. Remember that giant tunnel with the falling down hoist? So I got rid of the electricity, and instead, what's going on here is every time you jump down, you see the next step. You only see the next step as you land on this platform. This is kind of cool, actually. This is very fracked. I think this is a very, like, previous era of puzzle, very Cairo. I think this is a very Cairo puzzle. Oh, this is very Cairo. Right, just like the experience. Like, I'm wondering what happens if I jump off. Right. Yeah, well, I mean, when I started the project in 2012, UE4 wasn't really an option. This is still in the game as an optional puzzle. This is actually really hard. You know, so here's another thing, right? It was if you got it in here, you would not be... Like, if you were stuck in this puzzle, you had to solve it. There was no way out. You couldn't leave. If I started today, would I use UE4? That's a really... I'm not sure if that's a useful question to answer. You know, it's like if I started today making Manifold Garden knowing what I know now, would I use UE4? No, because I basically made the game in Unity, right? Like, if I were to remake the game, if I had to remake the game today, I would use Unity, because I could do it in a month, probably a month or two. I'd have to learn UE4. Now, if I were to start another project, would I look into UE4? Yeah, I would look into, you know, do a comparison of the engines. Would I go, well, whether I would go with it or not, I'm not sure. It depends on what comes out of the research. But yeah, you know, at the time, Unity was really the only option. You know, I'm not gonna solve this one. Oh yeah, so this is, I am mostly interested in the way, so I think this maybe starts to open up. This is kind of cool. Yeah, this is very, very Cairo. So like that puzzle is way too hard. It's currently in the game now as an optional puzzle. All right, I think it just opened up and put you in hub 6. Okay, but yeah, like I think a lot of you start to get a sense of the architecture that ends up in the current game. And right, of course, this is funny. I think eventually I did get rid of all of the outside areas for a while because I didn't want players coming out here. I think there were just too many problems. It was like, you know, you kind of skip the order, right, of puzzles, but I do kind of miss this like dark, somber lighting. Here we go. This puzzle is, you guys will probably recognize, it's still very much in the game. But yeah, this movement feels very not fun. Hey, Bedibik. Привет. Как дела? This is really interesting. Bunch I also got rid of. So yeah, this was like, the whole thing was very linear. So we changed so I can still die in this game, right? It's a very like Doom era death. And then it would just reset. So I did like this puzzle. Why did I like this puzzle? Yeah, so see, so I thought there were like a few kind of interesting. Oh, right. So, okay. So here's another thing that's changed, right? Like at the time with the grid, you can use it to line up this stuff. Like the way I'm doing now, I can use it to line this up, right? You can see. What were the... No, you couldn't, right? Because they were blocking the first one. Otherwise, both of them would fall. So you can see the way I've got the grid here. I'm using it to slide these two down. Oh, wait. Okay. Actually, I need... Like, one of the things that I got rid of later when I got rid of the grid... so I still have these puzzles where you have to like line up, but you see this so this line, right? Like these lines. Okay, so since I couldn't use them anymore, what I would do is instead have the lines extend down like that, right? So that meant if I needed to slide it across, I can line it up. So instead of it here, I would put it here, and I can use that. Yeah, I think he just went to go grocery shopping, right? So now I can use the line as a way of aligning. This one was kind of cool because you needed two cubes to do that. So I thought that was kind of neat. This puzzle is no longer in the game. Oh yeah, you can see I'm doing this here. This puzzle is no longer in the game though, because it involves this electricity, right? And then you have it come down. So I think like now, you know, this, I probably would just get rid of this. I still have the same problem, which is having the player carry cube multiple times. I don't, you know, I was just thinking about this today. Like maybe I want to have this tool where you can carry multiple cubes at once, but that does break the game in some ways. And there's a lot of puzzles here. To be honest, I'm actually kind of tired of this already. Right, so here first we had to come over here, get this. Oh, right, so see this one had it. This was very simple. Oh, interesting. This is a 2-room puzzle. You can like stash it. That breaks the game in other ways. You know what? This is not. Yeah, this isn't. Oh, so it did save. Oh, right. Oh, and then of course, like, see, I was being able to do this stuff. You know what? Let's skip on ahead because I do want to try. I want to try some of the other experiments that I was working on. Yeah. Oh. All right, let's skip a little. I feel like I feel like there were some interesting architecture experiments that I was doing. I'm trying to remember what I ended up doing with them, or if it was much later. Oh, for some reason I ended up getting. It looks like I got rid of a lot of that, so it looked like it was just down to this. Yeah. Huh. You know, let me solve this one very quickly, I just want to have it spit us back out. And I think this must have been the build I submitted to IGF. Oh, interesting. This is interesting. Oh, no. Yeah. So, and I wanna show you guys what I think this must have been the build, because I think IGF is an independent game festival that's at the that's during GDC. Now this would have been, so IGF is in March when GDC is, and I think the submission deadline is around October. So I would have submitted the game to GDC then. Yeah, it doesn't, so it looks like I must have submitted this. So remember I talked about how I started the game in November 2012 during Thanksgiving weekend, and it was like, hey, let me make a quick game to learn Unity and see what it's all about. And I was like, okay, it'll probably take me 3 months to make the next portal, and then everybody will think I'm a genius. Then I had a playtest session at the Young Horses. They made Octodad, and I realized game design is way more complicated than that. So ended up oh, that's weird. You know what's weird is it's not capturing it. Just a quick question. Have you guys been seeing the builds of the games? Because I'm just realizing this October version. Oh man, have you guys just been... Wait a minute. Have I just been showing you this this Windows Explorer this whole time? Okay, sorry, my bad. I'm not sure what's going on. But for some reason, it's like when I hit play, it's not... Oh, you know what? I'm so dumb. I'm sorry about that. The last 5 minutes. My bad. It's... You know what? I need to do it on Windows. Sorry. Yeah, is the Windows File Explorer not interesting enough for you guys? Viewers these days. My bad. So, yeah, what I want to say was IGF March. So yeah, I started the game in November 2012, and it was just like, hey, I was under the impression in 3 months I would make the next portal. Then I did a playtesting session with an actual game studio and had that, that shattered all the sort of the wrong ideas that I had. And then I decided to rewrite the game, and I was going to, so like after 4 months of working on it, I did a real playtest session, realized everything I thought I had down was completely wrong. And I got a art residency in Shanghai. I'd gotten that a long time ago, and I was about to go to Shanghai for 6 months living at this art residency. So I didn't have to pay for rent. Food was super cheap. And I was like, hey, you know what? I've basically got 6 months time. Let's rewrite the game and see where it is afterwards. So this is kind of what I ended up with. And I think you can see here there's a lot of problems. Look at it now, but at the time I think there was a core of an idea that was interesting. And when I came back, I think around this version, so yeah, we have Relativity 09. I also had this like really weird numbering system. Every time I was able to make a big change, so I didn't have version control at the time. What I would do is every time I'd make a big change, I'd zip the folder, and then I'd copy it and rename, just change the numbers. So it was like Relativity 05, and then it was Relativity 06. So then at this point it was Relativity 07. And then at some point I thought I was ready for alpha. Hey, what a fool. I changed it to, so this is the Relativity IGF build, which would have been, like somewhere around October, November. So let's just check out kind of a late October build. Was I getting rendering problems? You know what, let's actually just look at this one. Was I getting rendering problems with these cubes? No. Not in this game. Okay, this is interesting. So let's look at the beginning and then we'll jump around into the different levels. This is super fascinating for me because I do not remember what I was doing. Oh, interesting. So, okay. Oh, this is kind of cool. You know, hold on a second. I think we might have, maybe this was, so we had December, okay, so October 12th, that was not a huge change. Now let's look at, we might have jumped too far ahead. Let's take a look at some of these changes. So it looks like in late October I got rid of the sequence titles. Okay, no, so this is still very much that system, this version of the game. Let's look at the levels. Yeah, so somehow in around this time, I guess it doesn't matter exactly when, but around this time we added, here is this new system. So let's take a look at this. So okay, so right away we're in a, so first of all, that is higher resolution. I think this is like because like this is at the time, instructions on walls in first-person puzzle games was very popular. So you got this room. Okay, so this is early attempt at glass, and the current glass does look like this, but less prison-like. Notice the lack of music. Oh God. Oh God. This the cringy writing makes a return. So I think this is not actually, you know, before we continue, I do think let's look at the IGF version, because I am pretty sure the this was post IGF, because I think the IGF version that I sent them had did not have a story. So this is the build that I sent to IGF. If you take a look at it, yeah. So the build that I sent to IGF is the one I just showed you. You go inside, you've got the two rooms with this perspective, and I wanna read the feedback that I got from IGF. Yeah, so to see this is like oh, okay, there were some sound effects. You guys hear that? There's like some like some kind of a wave. So this is the build that I submitted to my first IGF, and I just want to play through it a bit. I know we've probably seen a lot of it, but just to kind of talk about just to give some context to the comments I've received. And okay, walk onto wall, space. Oh, right. So here's another change. You notice that the cubes, when you change gravity, is a little bit more obvious. Previously, it was orange. Like where it's orange now, it'd be white. Where it's white now, it'd be orange. And I got rid of that. Okay. So this is what I sent to IGF, more or less. So it was just like kind of, you open up, you got another room, you go in here, you go down. Oh, this is interesting, right? Like some of these, there was nothing to do in this room, but it was, the idea was this was supposed to be like an installation art kind of. It's I think for some of you who've been following the more recent development updates, you kind of see that there's this idea sort of comes back, but in a much better way. Like there are these areas where I just kind of go all out with the visuals and kind of play with it and not worry so much about gameplay. But they're integrated into the game in a much more cohesive way. Like this just sort of is there and doesn't really, I look at it now as someone that's played, because also I didn't play a lot of games at the time, but when I look at this now as someone that's played a lot more games, I would just be like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Does this mean something? Like, so is there a puzzle? Do I need to try to interact with this? Like, it feels very like the purpose of this is not very clear. Oh yeah, you guys remember how previously there were this structure was in all 8 corners or something, and then I got rid of it, so it was just down to these 2. Yeah, I think they had better looking games than this in 2000. I mean, the N64 games looked way better. Yeah, I can see that if it's just like a tech demo for, it's like, hey, if you want to make a first-person game in 2 hours with our engine, you can use this. So, all right, let's solve this. I don't think there was much else, and then I just want to. Then I'll bring up the comments I received from IGF. Oh yeah, I don't feel like that room is all that impressive. But it is. Oh, this is a fun puzzle, and I think those there's sort of something like this in the newest version of the game, but very different. So the idea here was that you had to, in order to solve it, you had to be on a different wall, right? So I have these things I can push. Now, this is a very Cairo puzzle. I think Cairo had a lot of these. Now, the problem with this is like you can walk up to this and you can't see anything, right? Like that's not fun. I mean, you can sort of do this, but a lot of times your players are just like, and then you just get a wall of green. And then this is something that I still have that. I mean, I guess you have it with any first-person puzzle game. Well, any first-person game, players can just like choose to walk up to a wall. But Brian from Thumper, what's his, Brian Gibson, like one of the things he said that when they were designing Thumper was if anything looked bad, they just took it out. Right? Like that was a big part of designing Thumper was making sure that every screenshot looked good. So anyway, the idea here is like I gotta move this guy to this corner. Right, but I can only see which position he needs to be in when I'm standing on another wall. This also didn't lock, and you could be in. So I think the idea, the intention here is good. Like wanting to get players to stand in different perspective and see. This billboard at Unity particle effect. Oh, right, and then this door opens, right? And it's like, it doesn't even tell you that, you don't even know that that is what causes it. I got rid of that puzzle later. Okay, right, and then there were just kind of a bunch of puzzles here, and then it was over. All right, so let's look at, I want to look at some of the feedback that I got. Find the email, I'll just paste it here. My IGF feedback from judges. So I got this in okay, so this is from, you guys can see everything. All right, so this, I got this email April 2014. So there are a lot of changes have been done between my submission to IGF and then the feed by the time I received feedback. Hope as well, since the close of this year's Independent Game Festival. Now, spoiler alert, I did not win IGF that year. So we made the decision a few years ago back to make judge feedback previously a mandatory process optional for our judges, with the thought that any feedback left would be more heartfelt and constructive than comment left simply because it was required. What that means, though, is that entries with a smaller amount of feedback for you doesn't mean that it didn't generate discussion among our judges or juries. All right, let's take a look at this first one. So, I just want to say that I had a great time playing Relativity, and I think the general premise has a lot of potential for some interesting puzzles, but I wanted to convey my thoughts that it felt like this was the beginning of a much bigger and better experience. And by that, I primarily mean how you progress. The colored box system works, but I don't think that should be the primary form of interaction progression. I don't want to sound disrespectful when I say this, as I probably would be annoyed by this feedback if I worked on the game, but I would recommend trying to experiment with what it means to orient the gravity to each wall in a room. I think there's a lot more that you can find if you mess around more. What if there was a linear progression through a room with a room filled with stairs and hallways and you had to go through the right order? What if this, what if that? If that, as I played the game, I sort of got bored by the colored block requirement and I just started walking around the room, flipping the gravity. It was like a breath of fresh air, and it makes me think there should be something more inherent to that in terms of going through the game. It's way more fun to think of where you are instead of where the blocks are. I guess that's it. Base it on the player's perspective primarily, not the block's perspective. But again, this is your expression, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I think with more time, it could be a great game. I definitely like the block idea, but I don't think it's the true form of the game. Oh, and not sure how far along the game is, but try to differentiate yourself visually and narratively from Portal. Otherwise, player will think it's a retread of what Valve already did. To me, it definitely like I was playing Portal again. Definitely felt like I was playing Portal again, and that loses some of the wow factor. But overall, great job on it. I'll be looking forward to what you do with it in the future. Now, I've been working on this game for a little over a year when I received this feedback, and of course, at first I was like, "Oh man, I didn't win IGF. Those judges don't know what they're doing. I've had such a great game," and I was nervous to read feedback, and I always get kind of sad. So IGF doesn't do feedback anymore, doesn't do the comments anymore, which I understand. It's a lot of work for the judges, and a lot of people get very angry. Like every time the comments are sent out, you just see people going online on Twitter, and people are talking about like, "Oh, this judge didn't get my game. How come this other game got selected? Like they didn't get it." Overall, just being very angry, and I think and this is a shame because when I read this comment, this, I don't remember exactly how I felt at the time. I think I might have been a little annoyed, just like this comment says, that the feedback was kind of critical about the block puzzles, right? Because I like kind of built the whole game on the block puzzles. But when you read this now and look at the game, it's like this person was completely right. I mean, it was the beginning of a bigger and better experience. Not saying like now it's better, but I'm saying like they were absolutely right to make me move away from the blocks. And I think like now Manifold Garden is such a better and clearer expression of the kind of feelings and concepts that I want to evoke and convey. And it's like I couldn't see it at the time, right? But this, like when I read this comment, I'm just like, this person was completely right, and I wish I could meet them in person and just be like, thank you so much for this, for being honest. Like just the way they were talking about, like walking around the room, flipping gravity, and that made me think, that kind of made me explore the architecture sides of it. So I think I think IGF is not so. I think in terms of IGF giving awards, that's not so important, right? Because as we saw in this past year, we can all pretty much predict which games are going to win awards. Like aside from like Nuovo, which is like the weird category, I think all the games that are going to win are games that have been out, that have just done well on Steam. So, right, Hyper Light Drifter, Quadrilateral Cowboy, Inside. Right, Stardew Valley, it didn't win, but it was nominated. Those are games that I think don't... It's like, yeah, it's nice they won awards, but that's sort of like they were doing super well already, The award wasn't going to make or break what happened to the game, but I think this thing that I think is a shame is that a lot of novice developers who could really benefit from feedback from people who've been making games for a long time in the industry, like that no longer exists. And I can't think of like another platform where as a beginner developer you can get like insightful, thoughtful feedback on your work anonymously. And I think that the anonymous part is important, right? You need just really honest feedback. I mean, I guess you can just like post on Reddit or post on Greenlight or but I think that format just doesn't work as well, because like these people they're industry people who took the time to play the game and a bunch of other games, so they've got a really good context of like where your game sits and what's currently being made. So anyway, let's look at the second comment. Anyway, I was very, very happy with the comment I got. These are all very, very thoughtful. Hi there, it was very interesting to play through Relativity. As a game, I think it's definitely accomplishing some of what it sets out to do, but it also feels very, very early in terms of things like setting and puzzle design, which I think is holding it back a bit for me in terms of voting for any of the categories. Let me say first that I think you really have got a lovely mechanic here, and one that's much more interesting than just hey, look, Ma, I can walk on the wall. I think the way it changes your relationship to the space of the world is fantastic. More interesting than the portal gun, I think, in the way that it's localized and perspective changing. I had several occasions when I felt genuinely disoriented, and the way that the game forces you to spend a lot of your time not taking orientation to the world is really interesting and slightly nauseating at times. I had a moment of running up some stairs while very much simultaneously thinking of myself as running up them toward a wall. These sorts of moments are just the kind of Escher-esque things that can be great about this game. So that said, I didn't vote for you for any of the awards because it just feels too early. You have this really interesting mechanic and relationship to the world, but the world isn't there yet. The puzzles aren't really there yet. There's no contextualization, no texture, literally and figuratively. And so technically, there was texture, the grid. So, very, very much looking forward to seeing where you take this. Also a bug, perhaps it is, and it's hard to tell in these sorts of environments. In the elevator cube thing, if I change orientation while inside it, I got spat out into the surrounding world. Oh, there was an elevator that you had to take. It's not very interesting. Thought initially this was a kind of homage to Portal's furnace scene, but didn't actually seem to be. Nice potential Easter egg to hide there somewhere. Yeah. One minor technical comment is that I think it would make a huge difference to the orientation change. If the orientation change was just animated quite a lot faster, perhaps more smoothly, the jolt of stopping it will definitely remove some of the kinesthetic enjoyment of the space. The last puzzle. Puzzles were fun, interesting, but in the end was looking for more of a hook to the game other than the whole walking on walls thing. Would like to think some kind of story or voice to set this game apart and make it feel like more than a Portal homage. Also agreed that the overall mechanics need to be tightened up, smoothed out to be an optimal experience. So, not exactly glowing reviews calling me a game design genius, but I think these are all things that were true. They were honest, and they were right. This is when I'm playing the game now, this is the kind of feedback that I would leave, right? So let me see if I can skip. Let me try that again and just see if I can skip to some people expect praise, not constructive criticism, and don't know how to handle it. Yeah, I think for me, I had that too. I had a very fragile ego, but I think that playtest with the young horses just shattered that. So it was, I'm just so glad I think that experience was, the benefit was not so much the specific feedback I got, but just having my ego shattered, and being like, okay, what's more important is just getting feedback. Oh, there's also like a slight oh so I think the beginning is still very much the same, but now I want to try this new thing. Let's go around here. Man, seriously, just add debug. If you're making a puzzle game, you should add a debug feature and an ability to skip puzzles. We're gonna skip it. Basically, you just came out to here. Here's an interesting thing. These eventually became cubes. Trees. Hey, you can reset itself. Oh? Oh, guess not. So I guess an early attempt at an outdoor environment. Oh, how does this? This is kind of cool, because it started. It had these problems where it's like you'd fall off, right? So I kind of was playing with this like red background. Oh, this is a cool puzzle. Of course, like you were supposed to like construct a bridge and stuff, but I think the movement here made it such that you really didn't have to do that. Like you could just navigate your way out of that. And I initially tried to try to prevent that from players from doing that, but eventually I think later on I just sort of embraced it. Okay, so I think, you know, if you are Alex Perth, if you've played Fract, you might like this puzzle. So with this one, this is a very Fract missed puzzle. Actually, no, this is also, now that I think about it, it's also very Witness. So, I don't know if you guys can see what's going on, but I have to line them up. Then I gotta like move over to this guy. This is kind of cool, but also just super. Yeah, but you know, I got rid of it because it was just very tedious. And it doesn't, I think it feels, you know, it was not part of the, this was sort of back when there were a lot of different ideas for mechanics. Oh god, what is up with this sound effect? Oh, look at this. Here's this path that's forming in front of me. This is very Cairo. Yeah, you know, there were a lot of stuff that ended up getting thrown out because they didn't quite, the noise fit. This is a very Cairo puzzle. Oh, okay. Here's actually something cool now. I'm excited about this. Oh, now music comes on. Oh. Huh. What am I trying to do there? Ah, yeah, here's this really annoying puzzle we did earlier. Now I'm gonna solve it just because I want to see what that thing looks like. So yeah, just man, if you're making a puzzle game, just add a feature to skip puzzles, add no clip. You will thank me. You will thank me. And that was a hard thing to hear, you know, that the block puzzles, because they were sort of what the early game was based on, and it was tough to hear that they just weren't very good. Or rather, there were some interesting points, right? But they did not. Though these blocks, in and of themselves, were not enough to carry the rest of the game. I think I added some kind of grain thing here. Alright, no, we need to do the... Yeah, you can see it's like, it's just tedious. Like even as I'm solving this, I'm not doing anything interesting. I'm just like, just going through the motions. Hey, hardly difficult. Thank you for the host. For those of you just joining us, my name is William. We're looking at early builds of Manifold Garden. Oh, right. Okay, now I remember. So this is kind of cool. Was you could how did I do this? How did this thing work? Oh, right. So I had to look at this piece now, but it's like what the fuck? Oh yeah, one. Oh man, this was really annoying. I think the trick was, yeah, so this is a build of my game from okay, so man, it's like I know the solution, I still can't solve it. Oh yeah, actually you could just do this. You just stand in the middle. So like that. I think I had to write it down. Well, actually one time I was watching and then someone took out their phone and took a picture. Yeah, that's how you solve this one. And yeah, so let me. And the thing is like the reverse of it. But you know, eventually this puzzle, I got rid of this because, oh, you see, so that was kind of cool. And again, this works its way into the later versions of the game. But oh, right, so you would get feedback if you did one right. Yeah, I think this was very Fez inspired. This is I think Fez Frat. It's kind of taking notes again. I just got rid of stuff like this. I think in the end they just were not that fun. I feel like players these days generally do not like having to take out a notebook. This is not Antechamber. Antechamber didn't have puzzles like this one. So not sure what's going on there. Someone do me a favor and just put exclamation mark info and exclamation mark Steam. Not sure. This takes a really long time. I think it just slowly fills with white. I think this is the end. You have reached the end of the pre-alpha build of Relativity. Thank you for playing. So, I think that's a good spot. What were we looking at right before? So that was that. I think that was the October 31st build of the game. Yeah. So, next week we'll come back. I think this is a good time to wrap this up. It's been about 80 minutes. So this week's episode looks like we went from July 2013 to about October, to basically October 2013. Next week we'll take a look at the November builds. Okay, looks like that's missing data. So let's just do a quick preview of some of this stuff. That doesn't do anything. Ah, okay. Huh. This actually does work itself into the game later. Okay, so I think we're starting to see like a lot of what you might recognize in the current iteration of the game. Yeah, we will. Oh, cool. Oh, I added this effect too. That would change. Now, there were problems with this. Yeah, I had to do the same thing all over again. Which hub is this? Yeah. So next week we'll come back and look at how this changed. But you can like this puzzle, I mean, is different. But I think you can see like I think the root is starting to, the root of, sort of the seed of what eventually became the current version of Manifold Garden is starting to take shape. Huh. It's funny, just that sound effect and that visual makes it so much more fun. Alright, so next week we'll take a look at this more. Alright, any questions on, kind of stuff we covered today? So for those of you who just joined us, this is basically, this is a weekly stream series called Unfolding the Garden. I'm, unlike kind of the normal dev streams, I'm playing through old versions of the game and then talking about kind of, what I was thinking at the time and how the design of the game evolved over the course of four and a half years so far. All right, so that'll be, and we can look at the current version of the game. All right, I'll show you guys some screenshots just as a point of comparison. Right, so these are kind of screenshots I've captured while working the game, so some of them are a little buggy, but to just kind of give you an idea of what the game looks like now. I mean, a lot of these are I'm taking pictures of bugs. But kind of gives an idea of how the game has evolved over time. This feels like it could do with some work. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna take a quick break now. I think we'll come back a little later with some more development streaming. For now, I'm gonna get some food. All right. Doesn't look like we have any questions, so see you around. If you're interested in learning more about the game, there's a website, manifold.garden. We also have a Steam store page. You can add the game to your wish list. And of course, all the archives of my dev streams and the past Unfolding the Garden episodes, they're all here on my YouTube page. Right. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will see you later. Thanks for stopping by. All right, bye-bye.